So from that point, I spoke to earlier the current pathway to national honours. That gets rewired. So what I'll do quickly though is share a quick video again to speak to what it is, what it means to be successful on the world stage, and we experienced that this year.
Canada gets the chance to play for a bronze medal against France at the City of Coventry Stadium.
Ce match donc de la médaille de bronze entre le Canada et l'équipe de France.
Coach John Herdman said they don't want to come home being a team of players that almost managed to achieve something. They want to finish this job off. Now Diana Matheson, one last chance for Canada. Sophie Schmidt. Sophie Schmidt takes a deflection. Matheson! Is that the goal that wins bronze for Canada? Diana Matheson in stoppage time. It's Canada 1, France 0.
Une accélération des Canadiennes à 30 secondes de la fin de cette rencontre qui offre possiblement la médaille de bronze au Canada.
They wanted to see the flag rise. They will see the flag rise. It is a triumph for Canada's women's team as they win the bronze medal at the London Olympics.
Voilà, le Canada, médaille de bronze.
What a fantastic performance by a group of players who have given everything for their country.
Okay. So this is the pathway. This is what we're working towards now. On the female side, obviously the national team, the male side, the national team. We also have professional soccer and TFC in our province as well. So these are the avenues for the elite pathway. Currently, I'll set the table. So the current process is district programs through to regional programs, where there's 3 phases and players come out of the clubs once a week over that phase. Identified at a regional program to come into the provincial program. The provincial program runs from October through to April, when players then go back into their club environments and they come back in for an international activity, and then All Stars, which is the national championships, around July. So that's our current structure. What will change here, and I understand you all can't see this, we did speak to it in more detail at the conference. This yellow block here is the OPDL. So we start here in April and we finish over here in November, which we've just spoken to. The revised pathway from there on is these OSA symbols here. There's a few more than 6 because there's a few other little activities we've built in here, but the regional program moving forward will be 6 weekends per year. So players we know are playing and training in an environment regularly that we have standards around, that we're monitoring, and we have confidence in our members for developing the player and putting them in, providing the appropriate environment for reaching these standards. So what we're doing is we'll be scouting and identifying players in this regular season. On 6 occasions, players that are identified will come out into a regional event, which will be training and fixtures, just over a weekend, and they'll go back into their environment. That'll happen 6 times throughout the year. Within those 6 regional weekends, players will be identified, and certain players will come out into provincial projects. There'll be 2 provincial projects per year. One that will be a training-based project with some fixtures with Quebec. The second project will be some form of international activity. So hopefully you're seeing a complete revised, talented pathway in regard to how we develop the player. I'll speak to it in a bit more detail. So, important message, the current regional, provincial programming for the cycle we're in, 2012 to 2013, doesn't change. Okay, so the players are in at the moment. They'll work through, like I've said, to All-Stars in July 2013. The district programs in 2013, we're encouraging districts to continue to run their programming. There's some great work that's being done out there in the districts where players are being identified in the club programs. They're coming in, we're getting the best with the best within our areas, and we're providing extra programming, and it's great. If we can, continue to run those programs through till the end of that cycle, around about October 2013. At that point, we go through the regional ID. Let's continue to do that. But at that regional ID, the players won't be progressing in the old structure. They'll be going into the new structure. So players will be still identified. That'll be a chance for communication from us, from OSA, to players and parents about the new pathway. And then players will start to progress towards OPDL clubs for what will be a new pathway as we move forward. And as I said earlier, this is where we need to work hand in hand with districts as we start to deploy our resources in different ways. Okay, and the information we're working on, we're speaking to it at the moment. We're going to be providing more information and advocacy about how we go about that. It's a high performance plan from CSA is in development. Hopefully we're all aware Tony Fonseca has been appointed as the National Technical Director. This is great news. We haven't had a technical director with accountability for the overall technical direction for 3 years, so someone hasn't been in that position. Now we have that leadership. I met with Tony about 3 months ago. He was in a high performance role prior to this, where he was coaching in some of the environments, but also working on the men's side of the game, growing a vision, which obviously is great because that vision is now going to become reality. When he came down here to talk to us about what's needed, we first spoke to him about the OPDL and what we're planning. He was just like, brilliant. You're doing everything that I came here to help you move towards. We're in complete alignment with the steps that you're taking. Okay, spoke to the need for standards-based football, spoke to the need for relationships with TFC and our environment and movement of players and understanding between us, TFC, and our club environments. Spoke to the fact that we will now, so CSA, they come in and scout those regional projects, the provincial projects, and they will look at the players from U13. They'll be in and out regularly over a 3-4 year period. So then when it comes to under 17 male and female national sides, they know very much about the players that they'll be drawing up into those environments. So complete alignment from Tony. I also spoke to John Herbman as well. They are working in alignment on this national plan, but John's taking a slightly different approach in places because they don't have, the female game don't have the professional environment. They don't have TFC, Montreal, Whitecaps academies where there's relationships between. They have to do something else. And speaking to what was raised earlier, that acceleration program, John knows he has to ramp up the hours that some of our potential players have, and he's got a plan to do that. And we're doing exactly what he wants through starting a standards-based league and ensuring that we're getting a high level of player development and work that's happening in our club environment. So we're in complete support and alignment with CSA. Another message I will say, 2013 is the last year of National All-Stars. So CSA have announced that because the whole pathway and the way they identify talent is changing. Transition plan and roles. So our current provincial programming starts at U14, goes U14, 15, 16. As you can see, our OPDL is going to be starting with U13. So we've still got 3 phases that will phase out. So as OPDL grows, we'll catch another year group. We're going to look at, that's how we're currently projecting it, but we will look at whether that's the most effective way to phase out, but that's how we're projecting it at this point. OSA resource shift. So this, in the new structure, we have 7 regional coaches throughout the province. Their role at the moment primarily is to work with club head coaches to identify talent, to see where talent is throughout the province, to deliver the regional programs, to coach within our provincial program, and for regions that are more remote, they deliver a satellite provincial program. So primarily they're working with the player 80% of the time. In this new system, that role changes. It becomes more of a regional development coach where they work 50% of the time with our membership outside of the OPDL. Okay? Helping facilitate coach education, helping implement the development of recreational matrices, helping with the oversight on how we implement change in that recreational base to ensure we're providing more resources that reach down to help with that transition. They'll work within the OPDL environment probably 40-30% of the time, okay? Ensuring the standards are met, monitoring the standards, going in to help pass down the technical direction that comes from CSA. They'll be reviewing the games, and there'll be technical information that will be shared amongst coaches, providing support and mentoring as well to coaches within that environment, as well as coaches outside. They're only going to be working with the player 10% of the time. 6 regional weekends, 2 provincial projects. So a complete shift of those resources. So rather than working with 200 players, we're working with 200 coaches and affecting 3,000 players. Okay, so this is a really good message, and I'd be excited to hear those things if I was sitting there in your shoes. Opportunity. So now we've gone through OPDL, talented pathway. We're just now going to move into a couple of messages that I feel, again, misconceptions that are out there that I want to speak to, that I want us to start to understand, because as a membership, we're not understanding them. We're a little bit, we don't have the depth of history as a football culture, so we need to start to understand some of these things because it's stock standard in other parts of the world. First one is, does anyone recognise this diagram? Has anyone seen it before? A few nods, but not many. A few champions out there that know. This is, I spoke to Canadian Sport for Life, National Direction. This is their model. They speak to physical literacy. So for us, active start, fundamentals, learning to train. This is the most critical development stage out there for us. If we get this right, everything else flows. Perception out there that LTPD is only for the elite player couldn't be further removed from the truth. This is where we, as OSA, need to help resource you as clubs to get this piece right. If we get this right, we retain more players and we give them the appropriate development that they need to progress. It's so important. 70% of our clubs sit in this U12 and below. And nearly every club is here. It's the most important part. Clubs are the backbone, okay, of our system. It's so important that we support what happens here. Because if we don't get this right, we don't have any of this. Excellence. So that's our OPDL. That's the part players progressing on to professional or national environments. We don't have any of that if we don't get these ingredients right in these early development stages. And over here, Active for Life, that's our Soccer for Life. Okay, from U13 and up. And there's movement in between these environments. So if I flick that over to, don't get too shocked, I see a few eyes walk. This is a pathway that we shared at the conference again, and we spoke to everyone working together. We're taking a holistic approach to the development of the game. Rather than just growing player development, we're growing player, coach, referee and administrator collectively. We're trying to keep everyone involved in our sport, providing competitive, recreational and talented pathways. So if I look at this diagram, here's that physical literacy circle. That's that 70% of the membership. So I'm just showing our alignment with the national direction. That's our 70%. Start, fundamentals, learning to train. Those players then move to house league, recreational, to competitive, or to talented, which starts with the OPDL and progresses, and some of them will move over to elite, which would be TFC Academy, which would be national age group sides and beyond. Okay, so there's osmosis between some of these pathways and communication, but that whole pathway changes. So we pull out the player pathway, and my message really here is, at the moment, how do we define success as a membership? As a club, how do you define success? What does success mean to you as club presidents, technical directors, coaches, parents? What is success? How will we determine our club successful? Come on, there must be a measure out there.
Size of your membership.
Okay, retention, size of our membership, this would be one factor. Yes?
Number of players still playing
Still playing
at 40.
at 40? Yes, could be another measure as well. Well, retention is a big measure. Unfortunately, generally speaking, I don't think it's something we use. How we've been measuring success is how many trophies we win, how many teams make the OYSL. Okay? Well, that's not success. Success is about player movement through a structure, player movement through a system. Okay? And success will vary at different development stages. So success at active start is a player having fun, remembering to take his or her jacket home after practice. Is success. Fundamentals, the same thing. Obviously, we're progressing the players' development. They're still having fun. They're coming back next season. They're becoming independent learners. Learning to train, again, we're passing on more understanding of the game. We're providing a stimulating, enjoyable environment. And then the players will continue to play recreationally, competitively, or start to progress to the OPDL or another talented environment because they have aspirations of going further than that. Okay, from U13 up, success might be winning trophies in Soccer for Life for some clubs. Okay, so what we need to do is we need to determine where we operate as a club and what success is for us. But we have a real problem with ownership of the player. We don't pass the player on to that next environment. In fact, we hold on to them. We hold on to them so that a player can win a Ontario Cup, can win entry into the OYSL. That's not success because we're holding back what's better for some of our players. We need to push players on through a system. That's what happens throughout the world. And then we need to celebrate that. You know what? We passed on 5 players into an OPDL environment. That's telling the membership that we're doing a great job of developing players. Okay, and we need to celebrate those sorts of things as we move forward. We need to change our measure of success. So we can ask questions about, but this is something that's really fundamental to what happens in the system, and it's not something that we understand too well. Okay, and it takes a paradigm shift. Okay, and it takes us doing what's best for the player rather than egos. Fields and goals. Another misconception that's out there. So I spoke to this a little bit earlier on, but we're producing documentation that's going to help with this transition. We haven't done that before now, so we haven't put information out into that space. Hopefully this will be really useful. It'll tell people that, you know what, there's going to be a period of transition to start with. In those younger development stages, it doesn't have to be lines and goals. Cones are fine. Pug nets are fine. Active start fundamentals. Let's not get all caught up in the environment and having to be perfect. Okay, and as we make that transition with municipalities, pulling goals in onto 18-yard boxes and coning off a line will be okay. Because we need to take those steps hand in hand with our municipalities as we work through the transition to smaller sided games. We've just started to get to municipalities to talk to them about this. And these are messages that they've been welcoming. It's been really well received. The fact that now they understand what we're going through, and the fact that we are phasing things in. We're not expecting 214. You must have the right information. As long as the field is right and it's coned off and the dimensions are right, that'll do. Okay, and the lines and the goals can come over time. That's been encouraging for them. Some municipalities can get there now, and they will. But others, due to their allocations and their processes with fields, take a little bit longer. But these are people we should be talking to. We should be understanding that process. We as a province have got to do a better job of that. So we're now starting to get to these places. We'll get to the provincial parks and recs next year as well, so there's a global understanding. In a couple of municipalities that we have gone into, that's great, because until now we've had 3 or 4 different clubs tell us 3 or 4 different things. Now we understand what is actually happening from a provincial perspective, so it's been a well-received message. So hopefully that provides a little bit of information here. Really important relationship as we move forward. Okay, I understand that everyone supports different teams and has different approaches to the way the game's played, and that's great. But why I put the FA up at the moment is they're going through very similar change to us, this cultural change, moving away from the emphasis on winning in the younger development stages. And they're producing resources that speak to us now, that speak to our members, that speak to our coaches, that should speak to our parents. And they're nailing these messages, they're getting them right. And we need to get them out to our people as well. I had 4 hours a couple of months back with Nick Levitt, who's the National Director of Football Development with the FA, sharing stories about challenges and opportunities that we're having with implementing change. You'll be surprised, but they struggle with some things we don't. We struggle with some things that they don't, okay? Because as I said, there's no yellow brick road. Every country's finding their own way. While I'm going to share some resources with the FA, is because they're at that same place. I'd like to share Spanish videos, Dutch videos, okay, German videos. But you know what? They're a different language for one thing. But it's just called player development in those countries. They've been there for years. This is just player development. So they're not having to push through this cultural change like we are, because they've been doing these things for years. And a lot of our information on our website speaks to this and references this. So here's a quick little video.
Isn't it stupid making these kids play like adults? On really big pitches, where I hardly get any touches of the ball.
In massive goals, where I've got no chance of saving anything.
Where only the biggest, strongest kids can keep up. In games and leagues that don't even mean anything to us. We love playing football, but this just isn't right. So what do we want? We want smaller goals, with smaller pitches, where we get loads more touches of the ball. We still want to win, but we don't need really long leagues like grown-ups play. We play football because we love it. We play football because it's brilliant. Kids football is changing. Find out how to play your part at thefa.com/kidsfootball.
So how many of us have seen that video before? Good. Oh, good to see that we're connected in there. But a great message and just really speaks to the fact that we've got to give the game back to these kids. For too long, it's been adult problems getting in the way of doing what's best for the kid, and that's what we've got to change. It's another shot. This is Nick Levitt from the FA. He's a big man like me. Didn't go over. And what they did, they mocked up a goal to show what it's like if an adult played in a goal, what it's like for a child to play in an adult goal. So this is 9 feet high by about 36 wide. Okay, and they just use that as a marketing ploy to say, hey, doesn't make much sense, but this is what we've been doing.
Maybe that's what we need.
To score goals. So really my final message, my last few messages is, this is where we've been sitting for a long time, provincially, within our environment, in a comfort zone. We've been doing what we've been doing because it's easy, because this is what we know. And this is life to a certain point. But we've got to get outside of this small circle and get into this place, because this is where the magic happens. And we've already got a lot of districts and clubs that are here. We've got many others that are still here. They're sitting on the bench. Some aren't even lacing up their boots yet. Some are. Well, they've actually got to get them on and get on the park and join the team. Okay, because this train is leaving the station, and it's important that we're all on this train as we move forward. Key messages, clear vision. There's a pathway that we're working towards. This is a national direction based on best practice from around the world. I'm a broken record on this. We need to work together collectively. There's going to be some potholes in the road. There's going to be some bumps. But we're going to continue to make sure we're making decisions that are in the best interest of the kids. If we get things wrong, we'll understand why we got them wrong. We'll talk to our membership and we'll get them right the second time. But we're going to continue to make the decisions that are in the best interest of the kids. I can promise you.